Hey, this is Kurt with Power Sport Academy, and I was verifying a lesson here in the Power Sport Academy because a student had just gone through and had done a series of these lessons here in building a team with love. And I noticed that the lesson that says leader, outgoing, verifier, and emotional came up blank. So I did a search looking through, YouTube and looking at the private links and all of that stuff to see what may or may not be missing. And I didn't see the video that we had made a couple of years ago to describe this section. So without much prep, without much, putting up the black screen and all that to match the rest of the course, I wanted to get something in here just as quickly as possible. And maybe I'll come back and redo it at a later date. But I did want to cover these work styles and make sure that it's fully discussed in the lesson so that I'm providing the value, to our clients and to our students the way that I should. And so let's be clear. The acronym LOVE, it stands for the type of work ethic, the type of work style that is more like a leader, right? More like a leader, or more outgoing, more verifying, okay, or more emotional. It's very important that whatever category you fall into, you recognize that's not a bad thing. Every team needs a sprinkling of each of those things, right? And let me be clear, it's not unusual to have a primary work style and a secondary work style that kind of mirror each other a little bit. Okay, so it's you're not overanalyzing yourself. This is not a psychology course. This is talking about work style, not necessarily personality type and mental things. Remember, think of it this way. You could be one person at home dealing with your spouse, your pets, and your kids, and you could be a totally separate person at the job place. Okay. And so when we take a look at work styles, I'm talking about the person that's at the workplace and what you naturally gravitate to while in a working environment. So I hope that I'm presenting this clear enough and in a way that makes enough sense. So let's knock this out. Now, first off, LOVE is just an acronym. It's an acronym that I needed to make up and make sure that I wasn't copying someone else's curriculum. So LOVE to me made sense. A leader, an outgoing work style, a verifier, and an emotional. Now, a leader is, and let's take a look at this. There's another acronym that I used to teach for another brand, and that was called REAL, keeping it real. And so when we were keeping it real, it was leadership was ruler, right? Outgoing was the entertainer. Verifier was the analyst. Maybe analyst is a better word for you than verifier, if you're having a hard time kind of gravitating to that word. And then emotional was loyalist. I always thought loyalist was the weird word in the REAL acronym, right? But all of these training programs talk about a similar concept, but have to put a different spin on it. And again, I want to make sure I'm not stealing someone else's material. So I went with the acronym of LOVE. Now, people will naturally think that the leader is the boss. People will think, well, that's the business owner, that's the general manager, that's the service manager, right? That you need to be a leader work style to be in that position. When we're talking about building a team of people, it's not always required that the primary work style of the person in charge be a leader, okay? But it's convenient, but it's not necessary. I work with a lot of service managers that, believe it or not, fall into the verifier category. And those guys do really, really, really well in bigger dealerships because at a bigger dealership, they might have 3 or 4 service writers, and one of the service writers will probably have the leadership work style, right? That primary leadership drive. And then the service manager might actually be the verifier, right? The analyst, someone that goes over the repair orders, does the audits, looks at the effective labor rate, how many hours per RO, and really drives down on the numbers. Okay. Someone that can really drive down on the numbers and has the ability to do so, like in a bigger enterprise, when they go to like their 20 group meetings and stuff like that, they're generally the ones that actually kind of become the leaders of the 20 group, right? Because they have analyzed and verified so much information that they have a sense of confidence when they get to their 20 group meeting. So a leader is somebody that, and I say naturally, okay, but in their work style, naturally extends themselves to other people, that naturally fills the gap or fills the roles. Old school, the leader used to be someone that barked commands, hey, go clean the bathroom, go do this, go sweep the parking lot, go do whatever. Okay. Nowadays, that's not so much what a leader is. A leader is somebody that can, kind of walk a step or two ahead of somebody and put a hand back and pull them along, right? Or it's someone that can recognize that they're leaving their team behind a couple of steps and kind of slow down a little bit, let everybody catch up, walk alongside of them for a little bit, right? And then start to push the envelope and move a little bit further. Could even be someone that steps way back, gets behind their people and gives them a little nudge, pushes them along. Okay. A leader is someone that needs to think of others and needs to think of their position, quite honestly, their comfort, and kind of keep them, at the envelope of their comfort level. All growth comes when we exit our comfort level. When we exit our comfort areas, that's when we experience growth. And a good leader can recognize when to push that envelope on their team to experience that growth. And so having a good leader in a team obviously is super, super, super important. As to which person is that leader, it's not mandatory, but it is super convenient if it's the person that's running the shop. The next thing is outgoing, right? Outgoing, in the real example, I said it was the entertainer. That's someone who maybe talks with their hands a lot. Hello. Maybe someone that talks with their hands a lot, lots of facial expressions, has the ability to communicate with clients, with technicians, with the service, porters, with salespeople, has the, to people that aren't in this category, it's almost frustrating to watch someone who is naturally, if their work style is naturally an outgoing work style, people that are maybe on the emotional side or the verifier side, they see people that are this outgoing work style. And at times they go, man, this guy's a clown. This guy's a clown. Oh, this guy drives me crazy. Right. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, when you look at the P&L statement and you start looking at who's making the sales and what's generating revenue, a lot of it is coming through this outgoing work style. This outgoing work style is generally somebody that customers identify with. And this person will know things, right? They'll know things like, little Johnny's going to graduate high school next year, and so just had to put their dog down last month. And they just tend to know more of these things because they have more of an integrated approach with the communication that they share with people around them. Now, I'm a little partial to folks in this work style. It identifies with me pretty well. So I kind of see that, and I am partial to it just because I see the results when I look at people's key performance indicators. So if I were to take a look at most shops and take a look at like a printout of, the month's repair orders, it wouldn't take me too long to figure out, okay, based on how this is written or based on the amount of sales through the team, I would say this person is probably that outgoing work style. Now, does every shop need to have an outgoing work style, person? No. Again, I stress these work styles are just a way for you to kind of piece together what you think a team looks like. Some shops only have one service writer. Some shops have a service manager that is the service writer. Some shops have the owner that is the salesman, the service manager, the service writer, and the whole thing. So when I give this type of training, especially when we're talking about building a team, I'm talking about a team of people that work there. So obviously in this situation, we're talking about a mid-sized dealership that might have 2 or 3 service writers, 5 or 6 technicians, a service manager, service porter, things like that. So when we look at building a team, the goal here is to mash together different work styles that will, through putting a team together, appeal to a broader range of consumers and increase our ability to sell. Okay. The next one is Verifier. The Verifier is like, and in the other example is called analyst. Sometimes analyst is a better term because it helps people understand. They go, oh, and I get it. They analyze stuff, right? Exactly. The verifier is somebody who is like, hey, before I give this ticket to the technician, I want to make sure I got the right labor operation on it. Or let's double check, pardon me, let's double check, triple check, quadruple check to make sure we have the right parts, all the parts, right? Before we give it to the technician. Let's take a look at this recall notice and make sure that we're following to the letter of the TSB or to the letter of the recall. Let's make sure that we're following each and every step of the way. Let's make sure that, you know, we go through the data and reach out to people that have bought their motorcycles within the last 3 months, within the last 6 months, within the last 12 months. Let's take a look at this open recall report that we got from the manufacturer, see which one of these people are our customers and that we haven't seen in 6 months. That's kind of what a verifier does. To people that are the leader and the outgoing category, they look at what a verifier does and they're going, oh my goodness, I don't have the patience for that. There is no way that I would sit and look at spreadsheets and get lost in that minutia. There is just no way that I would do that, right? To the people that are that natural work style, that's where they get their energy from. I mean, it's a huge conquest for them to look at a sheet with 500 names on it and go, hey, these are the 25 people we can call back for service that we haven't seen in 6 months. They get energy from that. And so remember, if you work in your primary work style, you're going to gain energy from working in that work style. And some people would say, well, you know, if you're doing what you want, you know, if you do what you want for a living, you haven't worked a day in your life or something like that, right? It's kind of like that. If I am working when I'm doing coaching with people, like I coach a lot of dealerships through the Power Sport Academy. When I am coaching students live, doing these support calls that I do, it actually gives me energy. Does it take energy to do it? Yes, but it gives me energy because I'm in my sweet spot, right? That's what I'm doing. So the more that we can build a team and put people in their sweet spot, the better we are at making that happen. So what would I do with a verifier? If I have a service department that has 2-3 service writers, a service manager, a service porter, things like that, and I have a verifier type work style in my team, I'm probably going to have that person like, hey, reconcile the warranty tickets at the end of the month. Make sure that everything got billed out, everything got claimed, everything got received, and make sure that we're dotting I's and crossing T's. When I do an audit of a lot of power sports dealerships, a lot of them don't have this verifier type person on staff. And a lot of them are leaving a lot of money on the table on warranty claims. You know, OEMs don't want to talk about that too much. They don't want to talk about lost finance opportunities with the OEM, but it's out there. There are tons and tons and tons of reasons to get extra labor or to bill more parts out or consequential repairs due to a warranty concern that don't get billed to the OEM properly. And when you don't bill it to the OEM properly and you can't bill the customer, the dealer just kind of ends up doing it, right? Like a gratis repair. And then, you know, the OEM wins, but the dealer loses. And we got to really think about this. And there's a point of discussion here, and this is why I think this training is so important. If we as an industry don't start giving dealer direct training and don't start addressing dealers directly on how to become more financially sustainable, how are they going to better edify the brands that they represent? Like, if you are looking at every month of being a struggle of paying the bills, how can you have a great attitude about supporting the brands that you're carrying? Right? Whereas if you have financial stability, right? If you're more financially sustained, you're able to be more light and you're able to be more flexible and you're able to address customers in a way that edifies the brands that you represent better. So I'm really, really big on this. The last one is emotional. Now, emotional, the other term was loyalist, right? So whatever word you identify with more, I get, but emotional is people that, you know, they need those touch points. They need those pats on the back. They need, and not because they're weak, but they thrive. They are energized by positive reinforcement. They identify with people. Here is one thing that I end up coaching a lot of emotional people on when I'm doing the one-on-one coaching will be in the area of sales. A lot of times this is the person that will pre-qualify a sale with their own wallet before presenting the sale to the customer. And so this is one of the biggest obstacles for, now this is not a bad thing, right? This can be a good thing too, right? Because they have compassion and they have a sense of empathy, but they might be tentative to quote a customer a large repair. So when I coach people from an emotional work style standpoint, I'll generally say, look, you got to remember, you can't pre-qualify people with your own wallet. These folks bought the motorcycle, they bought the UTV, they bought the trailer, they bought whatever, they bought the boat, whatever it is. They bought it. This is what it costs to repair it. All you do is give them the number and you let them make the choice. And don't apologize when you give the quote, right? Because typically an emotional work style person would say, hey, Bob, I wanted to give you the news. I'm sorry to have to call you with this, but we got to look at it. And man, there's a lot of damage there. And we started adding it up and man, I doing everything I can here for you, Bob, but it looks like it's going to be, $3,800 to fix this for you. Right. Whereas someone that is the outgoing person or the leader person, when they were making that same call, would be like, hey, Bob, I got great news. We're able to get that diagnosed for you. And yeah, buddy, we're looking at $3,800. That's something you want me to order the parts for or not? Right. And so, and again, you don't know what the customer's thinking. You don't know what the customer's wallet is capable of. You don't know. So you might as well go at it from a place of optimism rather than a place of apology. So, and when you go in with a sense of apology, the subconscious and the customer thinks they're ripping me off. They're ripping me off because they're apologizing. It means that they're probably overcharging me for something. And that's the subconscious of the customer, right? Now, you'll say, oh, well, then being emotional is bad. No, being emotional is great. Okay. You might have a couple of things in your work style that might lead you to maybe have a hard time selling a big ticket item, but you know everything about your customer. You are empathetic to your customer. Your customer senses that empathy and they love you, right? They'll follow you from one dealer to another dealer to another dealer. Like if you're job hopping, they'll hop with you. Customers become very loyal to the emotional work style employee. And so if you have an emotional work style employee, you want to foster that. You want to give them the ability. You'll notice the emotional work style employee might take a little extra time with their customers, especially during the delivery process. If your service department is doing active delivery, like we train in the Power Sport Academy, the emotional work style person will spend more time during that delivery with the customer than the other three work styles. And that's because they'll be talking about other things than the motorcycle. They'll be talking about, oh, what are you going to use it for? Where's your next big trip going to be? Oh, I love that. The last time I went for a ride in the Rockies, oh, it was so beautiful. Right. And that identity, that thing that they're doing, what are they doing? What's happening there? And we talk about this all the time in the private coaching, but it's establishing and rebuilding relationship with the consumer. And the more relationship you have with the consumer, the more loyalty that consumer has with your individual business. And so having that emotional player on your team is huge. Now, here's why I say building the team is important, right? Last time we said, oh, 4 big words, 4 big words. These are the 4 big words. And the reason it's so important to have these 4 big words working on your team is because if your shop is big enough and you're able to have a leader and an outgoing person and an emotional person and maybe a verifier in the back, that's analyzing the paperwork and double checking the warranty claims and doing all that kind of stuff, you've got the ability to appeal to a great percentage of consumers that are coming in your door. There are some customers that don't want the conversation. They just want things bullet pointed. They just want to know A, B, C, how much is it? I'm out, right? The leader or the outgoing person is really good at taking care of those people. You're going to have other people that are going to want to tell you a story, right? Tell you a story and look for some kind of empathy. Well, obviously the emotional person is good at that. You're going to have people that are going to come in and they're going to try and blow smoke up your rear end about how they think something should be warranty when obviously it's not a warrantable situation. The verifier is really, really good at addressing those concerns and hitting it right up front without destroying the customer relationship. The verifier is the one that would say, gosh, I don't know, Bob. I mean, I understand that you want warranty consideration on this, but it looks like a pretty dang big rock or a wall you drove over with this UTV. Let's do some damage, let's do some damage assessment. And then I'll get back to you and let you know what I think might be warrantable and what I think is going to have to be customer pay. But let's get a look at it first, Bob, and I'll call you in a little bit, right? That's someone who can be analytical, right? Be quick on their feet, address the customer, and still get the unit in for service and get some labor approved to get a look at it. One way or another, Bob's going to fix his UTV, right? And what I used to tell people is, look, I don't care who pays me, but someone's got to pay me. Either the OEM's got to pay or the customer has to pay. And unfortunately, the customer in the situation is you. So one way or another, we have to compensate the technician for the work that he is doing. And when you can take one of those work styles and really embrace it and have it be your primary work style, that's great. But remember, you, as the service writer, as someone at the counter or service manager, you are responsible to adjust your work style, your communication style to meet the customer where the customer is at. And so even though you might be a leader or you might be a verifier, you still need to morph yourself a little bit into that secondary work style. And sometimes, if you're a leader or you're a verifier, sometimes forcing yourself into that emotional role to identify with the customer can be a little taxing, can be a little, energy draining. But at the end of the day, if you're successful at that, you'll grow a better relationship with your customer, and you will see that you will experience success. Well, folks, again, this video replaces one that went missing off of YouTube somewhere. So I got to go find it, but I wanted to make sure I gave definitions for leader, outgoing, verifier, and emotional. And I think we nailed it here. And I will see you guys in your one-on-one coach session. Have a good one. Bye-bye.